Good evening, all. Welcome to today's Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself, Annie Jose from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Shanee Wilson. She's a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. Welcome to today's session, Shanee.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. I really appreciate it. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to just talk about my journey and let people know either what to expect, how to get through it, or how to overcome things. So just to give a little bit of detail about myself, my name is Shanee Wilson. I am currently 35 years old. And as you mentioned, I'm a lymphoma survivor. And man, oh man, let me just say it was quite a journey to get here. Most people think that when they hit their 30s, that it's going to be like this prime time of life. That's what I was always promised. They say in the 20s, you figure things out. And in the 30s, you have things mainly figured out and you can truly take time to live your life. But my 30s didn't quite start off as planned. Just to give a little bit of background information, back in May 2016, when I was actually 29 years old, my husband and I got married. And about 6 months into our marriage, we said, you know, it's about time to start trying for another kid because we already had one child together. So we started trying and weird things started to happen to my body that I couldn't quite understand. So the first thing was that I started having a little minor pain that came in my back. And I'm very much so a natural person and trying to figure things out myself. I don't like medication. I don't consider myself to be a sick person. I don't run to the doctor every time something's wrong with me. I truly try to self-heal as much as I possibly can. So when the back pain came about, I honestly just thought that, maybe I just strained something when I was at the gym because I was a very healthy person. I loved working out about 3 to 5 times a week with a trainer. So I figured maybe I was just overdoing it. Took a few days off the gym. That didn't necessarily help, which was kind of odd because usually I can self-heal pretty quickly. So a couple of days went by and then my stomach started hurting. And I'm thinking to myself now, okay, what can this be in particular? Maybe I'm just like, I'm not digesting the food properly. I'm backed up. I just have some sort of stomach virus, so to say. So I let time play its course to see if that would help at all. And unfortunately, it didn't. So over the next couple of weeks, then it became like this dual back and stomach pain. So now I'm really mentally trying to figure this out. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's my kidneys, something with like my bladder. Maybe I have a bladder infection. Let me drink water and cranberry juice and let me cleanse myself and self-heal. Let me just try everything that I possibly can. And unfortunately, nothing helped me at that particular time. So I became really, really confused. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to push through this and I'm going to figure this out because I'm naturally a strong person. So a few more days went on. And I said, okay, let me start trying things. So I went to the masseuse. I got a nice, good massage in my back. And I said, okay, maybe they can work the pain out. Didn't quite happen. I went and got one of my colon cleanses. And I said, okay, maybe this can flush me out. Nothing at all happened. And the pain just kept getting more and more severe. So it just so happens that my menstrual period just stopped completely. And I said, okay, well, maybe this is a good sign of pregnancy, perhaps, since we were trying and we were headed in that direction. So I said, okay, let me give it a few weeks. Let's see how my body adjusts. I don't remember my first pregnancy feeling like this, but you know, they say that every pregnancy is different. So maybe it was, in fact, just a different feeling naturally to pregnancy. So I gave it a few more weeks. I said, okay, there's no cycle in sight. So let me go ahead and take a pregnancy test and see what's going on and let me get the big news. Because to date, every time I've taken a pregnancy test, it's coming back positive. I'm pretty in tune with my body and when something is up with my body. Well, I just so happened to have taken the test and it came back negative, which was very confusing because now my cycle's about a month late. A pregnancy test came back negative. I'm going through these weird pains, which I thought that maybe it was something with the baby, maybe it was something with my back, stomach, something, and absolutely nothing. No answers, more pain. and just so much more confusion. So again, me being the person that I am, I'm like, okay, we're 6 months into our marriage. Let me stay hopeful, stay positive. Like, I'm going to figure this out. So I went about the Christmas holidays as planned, but it was a very, very painful holiday season. I'm talking on Christmas Day that day. I remember sitting at my sister's house and I was just in pain. They were wondering what was wrong with me. They asked me so many questions like, hey, you gonna get up? You gonna dance? Normally I'm the life of the party, no matter where I go. But in that particular Christmas, all I could do was sit. I sat, I ate, and I just complained about how much pain I was in, which is very, very odd for even someone like me. So a couple more days went by. I was still working out, just trying to figure things out and see what exactly was wrong with my body. And New Year's Eve, I told my I remember a very important meeting with our CEO, the founder of the company, myself, and a couple other individuals. So it was a very important meeting. And the whole meeting, I just kept moving in my chair because I was in so much pain, find comfort. It was probably one of the most uncomfortable days that I've experienced thus far. And I'm sitting there in this meeting trying to take notes, try to pay attention. But in actuality, I was holding back tears because I was in that much pain. Now, my husband and I had New Year's Eve plans to go out, bring in the new year. We thought we were going to have a great night that night. And I told him, I said, me being the naive person I am, it was about 11 a.m. when I got off work that morning. And I said, you know what? Let me just run to the emergency room really quick just to see what they can prescribe me to help me with this pain. Because I've been in the emergency room before for a variety of reasons. And the doctors always seem to prescribe me something that helps with whatever the case may be. And I'm able to truly just move on. And I went to the emergency room. I got to the back pretty quickly. And I'm trying to explain this pain to the doctors. And for some odd reason, I feel like not getting through to the doctor. Like, I'm explaining it, I'm telling him how it's been happening over the course of 2 months. And he's kind of looking at me like, well, if it's been happening for 2 months, why are you just coming in? And why do you feel like it's so severe now? And why today out of all the days? So it was like he was interrogating me versus trying to truly seek what was wrong with me, which was a very frustrating situation within itself. I'm explaining things to him. I'm asking him, hey, can you do some x-rays? Can you do an MRI? I'm just throwing things out there. Like, can you do something? But I know for a fact something with my body and I need help. So he gave me quite a bit of grief about it, to say the least, because his first initial solution was, you know what, I'm just going to prescribe you some Aleve. I want you to follow up with your primary doctor next week sometime, because of course it was the holiday, and your primary doctor is going to be able to guide you accordingly. I'm looking this man in his face and telling him, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Like, there's no such thing as sleep for me. There's no such thing as comfort for me. Like, I can't even breathe properly right now. I'm in so much pain. I don't understand why you don't get that. So he looks at me again and re-explains the same thing. And I'm telling him, okay, I don't know what my rights are as a patient, because I've never been in this situation before where I feel like arguing with the doctor. And I'm telling him, well, I refuse to leave because I need help. And this is very painful. And I know for a fact, if I walk out of here with absolutely no help whatsoever, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, just like I wasn't able to sleep last night, just like I tossed and turned the night before that, just like I was unable to work the day before that. Like, I'm explaining this to him and he's just not getting it. So he says, which in my opinion was the most disturbing thing ever, well, let me have you sit here for a couple of hours. You know, the night shift doctor gets here soon. We're going to change shifts and maybe they can do something about it, which to me was just not the best medical advice you can get from anyone, right? Because they're essentially just handing me off to the next person. You didn't try anything. You didn't try saying, hang tight, you're someone else's problem, which was a really hard pill to swallow, to be completely honest. So I waited patiently because that's all I could do at the time. I told my husband, like, hey, I'll be home soon. The night shift will start in about an hour. Like, I'll be home soon. Again, me being the naive person that I am, like, they'll give me some medication, I'll be good. The night shift doctor comes and he actually does his job. And he says, well, you know, let me take a couple of x-rays. He does an x-ray and he sees that something looks a little off my lung. He's like, something's a little off. Why don't we try to help me with something? I happened to puncture my lung in the process of trying to see what was wrong with it. And that's when he tells me, okay, we can't let you out of the hospital now because we just punctured your lung. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, but today's New Year's Eve and my husband and I have plans tonight and tomorrow's New Year's Day and I'm supposed to go get my daughter and this isn't how I saw the night going. What do you mean I can't leave? So at this particular point, I'm confused. Like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but it's happening. And did this doctor now create a new problem on top of whatever was wrong with me at that particular time? So the lung thing appeared to be very serious to them. I had to actually have oxygen put over my face and wear a face mask. And it was a whole process while they're just trying to do nothing more than heal my lung. So my husband came down, stayed the night with me. And I'm thinking, of course, yeah, I'm going to get out tomorrow. I'm definitely going to get out tomorrow because my lung's going to feel better. They're going to find some way to heal me, cure me, something, and I'm going to be able to move on with life. And that is truly when my journey began on New Year's Day of 2017. I was in an emergency room. I was there for about 6 days to be exact. And I kept going through tests and they gave me a biopsy. They did another x-ray and they did an MRI and they were just extremely confused. Like, what is wrong with this girl? Like when I say I was crying in pain, if they didn't give me medication every 2 hours like clockwork, I was crying in the fetal position like a newborn baby. That's how severe the pain was. Like I can honestly say, having given birth to 2 children now, childbirth had nothing on the pain that I was experiencing and going through, like absolutely nothing. It did not touch it. So every 2 hours, like clockwork, they're giving me medication, different doctors, because I'm in an emergency room. So I'm not assigned to a doctor. Everyone's just playing this guessing game. So about every 12 hours, I'm having to re-explain my story. This is what happened, and this is how I felt, and this is what I tried, and I'm having to go through this. It almost seems like deja vu at this point, with me telling my story over and over and over again with absolutely no solution in sight. And then I started to realize all of the pushback that I started to get from a variety of doctors when I was in the hospital. For example, the doctors would tell me, are you sure you're in this much pain? I remember the doctors asking my husband, thinking that I didn't hear personally, has she ever had any problems with like pain medication in the past, like any sort of addictions? And it was the most offensive thing I'd ever heard. Because coming from someone who hated taking medication, hated going to the doctors, literally, I feel like I was wasting my money through my job paying for medical insurance because that's how little I actually utilized my medical insurance. That was such a frustrating moment in life for me to hear that someone is questioning my integrity as a person and thinking that I would just be sitting in here during the holiday season, just wanting to get pain medication. Like, what does this world come to even think of me that way? So after I'm going in circles and in circles and in circles with these doctors and feeling like I'm getting nowhere, I start to ask them, hey, can you guys please transfer me to Loma Linda Hospital? This is a nearby university that is great for any sort of treatment. Anytime something's wrong, it's like Loma Linda is the go-to. The reason why I didn't go to Loma Linda is because they are always packed. So I said, you know what? Let me go to my hometown. Let me go where I know so I can get in and out for New Year's Eve. So I asked for a transfer. They say, yeah, no problem. It's super busy over there. We have to wait until there's a bed available. Okay, not a problem as long as I'm on the list. It just so happens that about 12 hours went by, 14 hours. I'm checking in every couple of hours. They keep saying there's no bed. There's no bed. 2 days went by. There's no bed. So finally, I called Loma Linda myself because, again, I'm feeling just weirdness from this particular hospital. I'm feeling like they're not helping me get to where I need to ultimately get to someone who can give me answers. And I called myself just so I can see where exactly do I stand on this wait list. And that's when I was notified. They said, wait a minute, we don't have you on a wait list. Then I just sat there and cried because this is the first time that I feel like I was lied to by medical professionals. I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I've been sitting here for the last 2 days being told I wasn't on a wait list to get a bed over there. I'm confused on what you mean. Yeah, we haven't heard about your case. We don't have any paperwork information on you. That you're not on any sort of wait list. And I was devastated. So at this particular point, I realized I couldn't even trust the hospital that I was at, which was a first for me. So I said, okay, I don't know what to do here. My brother came, my sister came. They basically told me, they're like, hey, you're going to have to check yourself out of this hospital. We're going to have to physically drive you to Loma Linda, and we're going to have to recheck you in. So I gave the hospital heads up. It sounds scary to me because I was thinking, well, what am I going to do in the interim? What about this pain when it comes back? Like, what am I going to do? So no problem. Let me just figure this out. I have to put my faith in God's hands. We got out of there. They did not want me to leave. They kept talking about how I was going against medical advice and against professional opinions. And if something happens to me, I'm not a liability. They were talking about all the facts other than the simple fact that they never did what I asked them to do, which was transfer me to somewhere where I could get better health care. So I finally drove to Loma Linda. We got there at about 1 a.m. in the morning that particular night. And it was the longest night of my life. That emergency room was packed. When I say it was packed, I mean, I literally waited in the emergency room for 16 hours. That's how packed the emergency room was. I've never been to an emergency room that's that packed. I sat there with my husband. I literally cried the whole time. I was in pain. I kept asking the people at the front desk if they could provide me something. And of course, all they could do was the basic stuff. They were like, oh, we can give you some Tylenol or some ibuprofen, but nothing that could actually help me like the old hospital was giving me. So it was devastating. I sat there in the most excruciating pain of my life that was worse than any labor pains, worse than anything I ever experienced. But they knew something was wrong with me. They were just waiting for an emergency room bed to open up. Finally, when I got in there 16 hours later, they looked at me and they quickly realized, they were like, something's wrong with you. We can tell something's wrong with you. There's no way someone would be in this agonizing with pain. We need to admit you into this hospital. There's no question about it. I'm not sure why you were questioning about this before. We absolutely need to help you. They got me the same medication that I had. And that was the official start of my journey, because from that particular point on, now it was a matter of figuring out what's wrong with me. I feel like when I hear some cancer patient stories, they go in, they see some sort of tumor, they know exactly what's wrong with them, and they kind of just move forward in the process. That wasn't that way for me. I'm not sure if it was because it was lymphoma and it was in my blood, or just my particular body and the way that my body is built. But I sat in the hospital at Loma Linda for 38 days before I was actually diagnosed with cancer. I underwent every sort of biopsy you could imagine. I had 7 teams of doctors on me, checking my lungs and checking my heart and what's wrong with her stomach, what's wrong with her back. I had so many teams of medical professionals trying to piece this together and figure it out. Around day 16 or so, they started thinking, we believe this might be cancer. And I'm sitting here just telling them, like, don't speak that over my life. Like, you guys have no proof at all. What are you talking about? Like, don't say that. So they kept going, and they kept saying the same thing. We think this could be cancer. And I'm thinking as a patient, well, if it's cancer, you guys have to prove this. Like, prove this to me. This is just weird. Like, my mind isn't able to process the fact of how a 30-year-old who was fully healthy, I'm talking working out 3 to 5 days a week. I was on a gluten-free diet. I barely ate sugars. I was a very healthy person. Like, it didn't add up to me. Nothing made sense to me. But finally on day 38, about 5 biopsies in, that's when my test finally came back positive that I was in fact a cancer fighter at that particular point in time. And when the doctor came and told me, it was the most devastating news I'd ever received. It was more of a surreal moment where I just couldn't believe the words that were coming out of her mouth. Like, I couldn't process it. The thoughts, nothing about what she said made sense. It was almost as though she was talking to me in a foreign language. And I was trying to decipher and translate what she was saying, because that's how foreign what she was saying sounded to me in that particular moment. So I heard her, and then I just started to think, because I come from a family that has very heavy cancer genes. I've had in my lifetime so far 8 people before I was diagnosed that was diagnosed with cancer in my family, and all of them died from cancer. So cancer was not a good word. It wasn't a fightable thing. It wasn't something that gave you hope. Me personally, it wasn't something that was like, okay, I've got this. I literally thought that when the doctor told me that I had cancer, that she was delivering me my death sentence. And it was the scariest thing I ever heard in my life. Like, it was the absolute scariest thing I ever heard, because I had the stigma over me, thinking that cancer was just not beatable. Like, this was it. So, of course, the first person I called to come to the hospital was my husband. He was fully taking care of our daughter at the time. He was working, dropping her off at school, picking her up, doing homework. He was fully taking over my role and some. And called him into the hospital, and I just started crying, and he already knew what was wrong. I told him, we cried together. It was like, when you go into marriage, you say your vows, and it's one thing to say it through sickness and in health until death do us part, but it's a completely different thing when all of that slaps you in the face and so quickly, where it's like, wow, this is the in sickness and in health part, and this might be the till death do us part. And that was just hard enough to grasp, because then I started feeling guilty. Like, well, what did I just drag this man into? Like, what just happened? What's going on? We're supposed to be like having a kid right now and moving forward in our life and figuring out our next plans and goals. And I'm delivering the news of cancer to him. Like, I'm essentially delivering the death sentence to him. I'm telling him he might be a single dad, that he may not have a wife. It was just a devastating moment in my life that it's even hard to even mentally look back on that, because it was just such a moment for me. But hey, it happened. He sat there with me as long as he could till he had to go get our daughter from school, and we just prayed together, and we just cried together. We sat quietly together. And I literally sat there just stunned the rest of the day. Like, I couldn't say anything to anyone. I was just staring at the wall as though I was just, I don't know what I was looking at. I don't know if I was looking at God himself. I don't know if I was looking at a death sentence. I don't know if I was looking at my life flash in front of me, but I was just staring, and I was just stuck, because I couldn't believe what was happening. Now, when I was given this information, it was probably about, I want to say about noon on a particular day. The doctor told me, hey, we're going to start your cancer treatment tomorrow. We're going to get you in a PET scan so we can figure out the stage, but we're starting your cancer treatment tomorrow. Oh, okay, cancer treatment. Okay, this is all new for me. I'm still trying to process this. I wasn't sitting in the hospital for 38 days doing my own medical research and trying to figure things out like, well, what is this type of cancer? What is that type of cancer? Cancer was never a thought for me. Even when the doctor said it, I just knew they were making a mistake. So long and behold, that same night, I got transferred up to the oncology unit. And that very next day, I started my chemotherapy treatment. Now, after we found out that it was stage 4 cancer and that it did take over 3 of my organs, which was my spleen, my stomach, and my lung at that particular point, they said that my only treatment option was inpatient treatment, where I had to stay in the hospital for 6 days, get my treatment. I would go home for 2 weeks so that my body can recover. I come back for 6 days straight and get my treatment. So essentially, I was going to be living in the hospital for quite a bit of time. And that within itself was just, it was just a hard pill to swallow, something very hard to process. At the time, my daughter, she was only 4 years old. So it's like, how do you explain this to your daughter? How do you tell her that mommy is sick, that mommy, she's not done with the hospital, that even when mommy does come home in about a week, which was a blessing within itself, that in a couple of weeks, mommy had to go back. This was just so heartbreaking to try to explain to a 4-year-old, someone whose mind was so young and so innocent and so hopeful. So it was very challenging to even try to explain to her. But I said, okay, I'm just going to figure this out. Let me first get through my first set of treatment, and then we'll kind of explain the process to her again. So with chemotherapy treatment, I didn't really have, as I mentioned, a lot of time to research things. I just said, listen, you guys, I need you to do anything that's going to take my pain away and take it away as quickly as possible. There was no such thing as like a natural remedy for me or an alternative or a let me go home and figure this out and change the way that I'm eating and living and being, because I was already a healthy person. It was, I need help. I need help immediately because this pain is still coming back to me every 2 hours like clockwork. And I was living off medication at this point. Like there was no way around it. So the next day, lo and behold, I started chemotherapy treatment. And being in the oncology unit, it was very different. Me being there for that first day, I was kind of looking around at people because I was walking around as I was getting my treatment done, and everyone looked so sick. And I was wondering, oh my gosh, well, is that how I'm going to be? Or maybe they have a more severe cancer, or maybe their treatment is more severe than mine, or just maybe I couldn't quite process because I'm getting this injected in me and I'm feeling fine and I'm walking around and I'm thankful that I feel fine. And I'm looking at everyone, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone looks so weak and so sick. And this is just so different. Maybe it's because of my age. Maybe it's because I'm a healthy person. I didn't know what it was, but I made it through that first round and all I felt was sleepy. So I said, okay, let me get through this. I can be tired. I've been tired before. I can do this. Then I went home for the first time, and that's when it all hit me. I said, oh my God, my body, it feels different. It feels very different. Like this doesn't even feel like my body anymore. And then that's when one day I was actually taking my hair out. And when I was taking my hair out, that's when I see all of my hair just start to come off. And when I say I was unbraiding my hair and my hair was coming out, I was crying as though I was dying in that moment because I couldn't believe the significant effect that one round of chemo had on my body. I feel like I was so caught off guard, even though I knew that that was a possibility and that was probably going to happen. For some reason, I had faith that it wasn't going to happen to me, and maybe it would take longer to happen. And I just felt so naive in the situation because I was really just hoping for the best possible outcome. But really unbraiding all of my hair and seeing myself bald, that within itself was probably one of the most devastating days in cancer treatment because I couldn't recognize myself at this point. I'm looking in the mirror. I have no idea of who this person in front of me is. And I'm just devastated. I'm crying. My husband's not home. My nephew was there. And he just kind of talked me through it. He came in there. He cried with me. He talked me through it. He was telling me things are going to be okay. Hair doesn't define me. Nothing. I was hearing him, but my soul just didn't feel settled in anything that was being said to me at that moment because all I saw was my life changing in front of me. And now I saw, wow, now you're starting to look like the other people in the oncology unit that you just saw and was wondering, hey, maybe their treatment's more severe. No, I just hadn't got to that point in my treatment just yet. So it was a very devastating moment. And going through that journey of being in and out of the hospital, that was the biggest mental challenge that there was, because every time that I got home and I tried to feel somewhat normal, and that took me about a solid good 2 weeks before I could even stand on my own and brush my teeth and have enough energy. Before then, my husband was helping me shower and helping me walk to the restroom, go up and down our stairs. Like, I was done. My energy was depleted. Every ounce of everything that I had was just gone. So by the time I finally started to feel like myself again, I'm getting the call saying, hey, your bed is ready. It's time to come check in. And that within itself was just like a full reset of, wow, I'm really still going through this. I have to continuously go through this thing they call cancer. And it was hard. It was very challenging. It was mind-boggling. because it's like, what do you do when there's nothing you can do? When that's your only way out, that's your only option. This is your only thing that you can do to survive. Like, you have to leave your family, you have to leave normalcy, you have to be off of work, you can't work out. Like, my life was taken away from me, but my life was taken away from me so that it could save my life in the end. So it was quite a mental battle day by day on, how do I even get through this? Like, the mental aspect of cancer was definitely one of the most hard ones. I know physically it kicked my butt. Like, it made me, like, I had to learn how to walk again type kick my butt. But the mental challenges that I went through, and questioning my faith in God, questioning why it happened to me, figuring out just really, why me? What did I do to deserve something like this? That was just such a moment within itself to just try to navigate through. There was nothing that anyone could say or do to help me understand it, to help me cope with it. So really, my main object was to turn to God. Like, I didn't go through any support groups because it was too hard for me to get around other people. And it almost felt like, for lack of better analogies, like an AA group. Like, oh, hi, I'm Shanee and I'm an alcoholic. Like, just coming to a point of being able to say, hi, I'm Shanee and I have cancer. That within itself, like, that sentence wasn't something that just flowed off of my tongue naturally. That within itself brought me to tears every single time I said it. That wasn't something that I was proud of. It wasn't something that I feel like I fully understood, something that I fully owned at the time. I feel like I was going through the process, but it was almost as though my spirit had left my body and I was watching my body just go through the process. That's how removed I was from what was taking place. Like, my body just separated. I feel like mind, body, soul, spirit, I was all over the place and just trying to navigate through, how do I figure this out? How do I get through this? Can I fight this? Can I win? And that was the hard part for me, is really trying to figure out if I could fight this and if I could win. Now, the one thing I can say that did help me get through it was hands down my family. My family, my friends, they really came through for me because I was in the hospital so frequently. Their visits meant the world to me. It was like I didn't have to do things alone. And just sitting in a hospital, for one, that within itself is just enough. But to sit in a hospital and share a bedroom with another oncology patient who you didn't know, so it's like essentially I had a roommate every time I moved in, it was weird. And hearing things that the other patient was going through, it was hard. And not being able to rest through it, or some of them have more severe cancers than me, hearing some of the conversations that their family had and how they lost hope, that was even more challenging. It was just build up on top of build up on top of just, this doesn't make sense. So being around my support system really carried me through. And when I say they came through for me, they truly came through for me. Like, my husband, every single day, he would bring my daughter up to the hospital so we could do homework together until I, of course, fell asleep on her because I was just so weak. He would bring me dinner every night so we could have dinner together. We would say our prayers together. And then I would have to watch them leave every single night because she was too young to stay in the oncology unit with me. And that within itself was so hard to explain to her because she would cry pretty much every single night when she had to leave me. And of course, I'm trying to hold myself together. But as soon as she hit that corner, I just sat there and I would cry for hours because I couldn't believe that I had to be separated from my child for such a long period of time. And I just couldn't be there for her, be there with her. Like, I felt like the most helpless mother and wife anyone could ever possibly feel. I felt like it was just very discouraging, to say the least. So it was hard to see her go, but I was always excited to see her come. So it was a very good thing for me because it truly helped me. It gave me something to look forward to day by day, I knew as soon as she got out of school that he was going to bring her over. But that separation at the end of the night, it was like saying our goodbyes. And even though she just saw it as a goodbye, every single time I actually said goodbye, I just prayed to God, please don't let this be my final goodbye to her. And I remember that was like the hardest part of it, is really believing that that wouldn't be my final goodbye. Uh, so it was more challenging for me. I feel, I know she was 4 years old, but I just prayed and prayed, God, please don't let this be the final goodbye. And please just let this be a see you later. And please just carry me for one more night, because these chemo treatments were so aggressive. Like, I don't know how people can say like, oh, I just fought through cancer and it was no problem. Like, I wanted to give up. I absolutely wanted to give up every single day because it was so hard. And I'm a mentally strong person. I'm a physically strong person. I'm a fit person. And seeing what it did to me was just like, wow, this is something else. Like, I see why so many people in my family have passed away of this. Like, this is that one thing to push you to the edge, that the edge of just giving up. I can see how cancer plays such a mental role in your life, in the sense that if you believe that you're not going to make it through, I can very well see how you just don't make it through. I feel like cancer, you have to have a deep belief within you so that you can truly fight it, because it's whatever you believe. I truly feel like that's what your body will work towards and help you achieve. So while my body wanted to give up, everything in my mind and soul was saying, no, you have to fight through this. You can't give up. Giving up isn't an option. Like, this doesn't make sense. Come on, Shanee, don't question yourself like this. Like, you've got this. It was challenging to kind of find my way through that. But during the process, I can say that I learned a lot. I learned so much. Not only did I learn a lot about myself and like how my priorities were a little out of whack. I was very much so corporate driven and career driven, and let me just make my way to the top and let me be successful. And I feel like I kind of got clouded in that quite some time, or in quite a bit, in the road of success, where other things in my life became cloudy, like perspective and a family and balancing life out and really figuring out what's important to life. So I feel like cancer was a great way to humble me personally. It helped me reprioritize my life. It certainly helped me refocus on what's truly important to me. Uh, it helped me realize that no amount of success, no amount of money, no amount of nothing that I was trying to achieve was going to give me that sort of perspective and that sort of insight in life, the same that cancer gave me. I knew that I was always working in corporate jobs and careers, and I was going to figure it out. Like, I went to college, got some great degrees, and I was always going to figure my life out. But cancer truly gave me a purpose. I realized how people in my life didn't know how to be there for me during cancer. Some people actually turned against me because they truly did not know what to say, how to act around me, how to react. They didn't know if they should apologize for things that went wrong, if they should stay away from me at this particular point in time. They just didn't know. And that helped me kind of resurface and refine myself and refine my own spirit within everything, to completely find a new career track. That is when I realized that I have to help other people. Like, even in the midst of my own journey and fighting for my own life, I realized my cancer community needs me. They need an ally. They need someone that's going to be on their side, someone to be able to provide what they need for them. They need the hope. They need the faith. They need that kind of like that gift box to them that's going to reassure them. People will come up to me all the time at the hospital and say, well, what do you need? What do you need? I don't know what I need. I'm new to cancer. I'm taking it day by day. I have no idea of what I need in this journey. I just know that I need support. That's about it. But that wasn't really helpful for anyone. So people would do random acts, like they would bring me food and bring me snacks and bring me all of these things. I'm like, you guys, I'm not able to keep anything down, but I appreciate your gesture. So I realized my own personal journey within it was to go through it so that I could help others get through their journey when their days did in fact come. So it was very much so a confusing moment at the time because I didn't understand why it was happening to me, how it happened, where it all stemmed from. But it truly made me the person that I am today because it taught me who I should be. It showed me what I need to be for my cancer community. It repurposed my life and redirected me for what I needed to be for my husband and for my daughter and for my family. It showed me the importance of communication, the importance of being able to get over small things like family drama and arguments and beefs. Like, life is too short. I went from literally living my best life out in Vegas, celebrating my 30th birthday, to literally 2 months later, I'm sitting on what I thought was my deathbed at that particular time. It slapped me in the face with such a refocus on life to truly realize, hey, Shanee, you have to let go of some of this stuff, some things that were just hurt that I was holding on to with certain individuals, certain things. And I said, if cancer does take me out, I can't go out on this note. I can't have this particular argument here and this unfinished business there and feel like I'm incomplete over here and I didn't get to accomplish this with my daughter over there. Like, you have to go out and you have to live, and you have to live right now. Like, I was a really big believer of putting things off. Oh, let me wait until I get this and let me get this first. And well, how are you going to put things off if you don't know when it's your time? So it really helped me understand life. And I feel like it gave me perspective of like a 70-year-old, but in a 30-year-old's body, which is something that I feel like no book can ever give someone. No amount of counseling, no amount of college degrees, coaching, communication, nothing, in my opinion, can give a cancer fighter what actually going through cancer itself will give a cancer fighter, because it's truly something that's birthed from within. And once you get past that moment of uncertainty of asking yourself, why me? And God, don't do this to me, and kind of feeling sorry for yourself, going through your confusion and going through the pain and the agony and just everything. It was like life fully stopped for me, but it was still fully revolving for others. That within itself was a hard concept to grasp, because I'm like, wait, guys, I'm over here. I'm still sick. I'm still on my possible deathbed while people are out and living. So once you get past this mental hiccup, so to say, and you can break through, I feel like that's when cancer then becomes a blessing to people. But you have to truly fight for that moment in order to get through, to truly understand why God chose you. Because I'm a really big believer, and I've said this before on social media platforms, and I've upset a few people with saying it, but we all have our own opinions for a reason. But I'm a truly big believer that everything happens for a reason. Everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. So my journey, it was very much so intended for Shanee Wilson. It wasn't intended for anyone else. It was intended for me at that particular moment in life, when God knew that I was going to receive it. I was going to get everything I needed to get out of it. I was going to change my life the way that he needed me to. And I was going to be able to refocus and repurpose in the direction in which he wanted me to go. I'm a very controlling person in a sense of my life. And I like to do what I like to do. So I go to college so I can get this type of job, and I go out and work for money so I can spend my money on this. So God had to take away all of my control so that he could truly show me what my purpose was and what I was truly here for, what was to be birthed out of me, to just make everything make sense for me. And that within itself, I have to say, looking back at it, was the biggest blessing cancer has ever done for me. A lot of people don't see cancer as being a blessing. They see it as being a burden, especially when you lose people. Like, I've been through the loss. Thankfully, God kept me because he had a purpose for me, a very specific purpose, and he wasn't done with me. But it truly is a blessing when you dig deep and you identify the why. And when you can answer that question, that within itself is it's super helpful. So cancer absolutely changed me in the most positive way I can personally imagine. I can honestly say, because I feel like a lot of people talk about the lifestyle changes and, hey, how's your lifestyle changed since cancer? To be completely honest, I was a very healthy person before cancer. So it hasn't changed very much. It's not like I was over here just gorging on sugar and not exercising and taking life for granted and drinking soda every day. Like, my life looks very similar. It was just a matter of the recovery that came after having cancer, because I feel like everything happened so quickly for me. I was so naive and so caught in the moment and taking things day by day. Like, I had no idea, and this sounds so silly even saying this out loud. I had no idea when going into my treatment that, oh my gosh, if you get chemotherapy treatment, this could affect your chances of having a child. No idea, not the slightest idea. I just wanted pain relief, and I just wanted them to start chemo and start it right away. So after my cancer journey, when I said, okay, it's time to grow our family, it's time to get back on track, pick back up where we left off. When I went to 4 different doctors and they all told me the same thing, your body is done. There's a high possibility you'll never carry a child again. Like, chemotherapy really affected your body. I was shocked. I was stunned. I felt it took me back to this kind of sunken place of, wait, why is this happening to me? But I thought that God already gave me my biggest struggle, my biggest challenge. And I'm just confused. Like, wait, what do you mean, God? You gave me all this perspective and showed me that family matters over success. And you gave me all of this to then take it away from me. And it was a challenging thing. And when I started reading articles, everyone started saying, okay, you should look into fertility treatment, and you're supposed to preserve your eggs before you start chemotherapy. And just all of these things I didn't get to do in time because it all happened in a blink of an eye. And I just started to question everything all over again. I questioned it. I prayed about it. I had to constantly remind myself of how big God is. And despite what any doctors say, and I appreciate my doctors, I appreciate my medical community, but I feel like God always has a final say. So even after I was told no on several occasions, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to figure this out. This has to be something that has to get figured out. Like, I see success stories every now and again. So I went to a new doctor, had a game plan. I saw all these different medications I could take. I said, I'm gonna conceive another child, whether you guys say so or not. I'm gonna figure this out. After they told me IVF, that's gonna waste your money because your body's not gonna receive this. And when I went to that doctor's appointment, that's when the doctor told me, hey, you know you're pregnant right now. I said, wait, what? How is this possible? I haven't had a menstrual period in 2 years. How is this possible? Yeah, you're pregnant right now. Lo and behold, I was 5 months pregnant at the time and had no idea whatsoever, because they told me I was just completely done for. So just seeing the blessings that have been birthed out of it, I'm so grateful. I feel like everything is a tad bit more sensitive to my life. I feel like everything is much more meaningful to me. I feel like cancer has really just reeled me in so many ways I could never possibly imagine. And for that, I will forever, ever, ever be thankful for my cancer journey, because this perspective and what God has given me, and now being pregnant with my second miracle baby, it just makes the journey all worth it. So what I've understood this at the time, if someone asked me the question of, hey, what is cancer doing for you? I probably would have just stared at them and just shook my head like, why are you even asking me this question? But looking back at it now and seeing what it's done for my life, how it's changed me, how it's bettered me as a person, given me this perspective, rebirthed my hope and my faith, and really been able to solely rely on God himself. I wouldn't have done anything any differently. Honestly, I would have had my journey the exact way that it was. and I would have just went with it. So when I think about all of my cancer fighters that are diagnosed, and if I could sum up all of my advice into just one sentence, because it's hard. It's hard to comprehend until you actually go through it and you have time to process things. But if I could just sum it all up, I would sum it up by saying a couple of things. One is that you were assigned this mountain to show others it can be moved. And I want all of my cancer fighters out there to remember that trouble doesn't last always. So it may look like a tough road. It may look like there's no end of the road. It may be the most challenging days you have ever had in your life, you've ever experienced in life. It may look to be the end. You're going to question everything, but just remember that this is all temporary. And if you keep your faith where your faith belongs in God, then you too, you can do this. Like, it's possible. I'm a living testimony that it is absolutely possible, but you have to have faith in order to see things through. So I feel like that's just a little snippet of my cancer journey and how I feel about things. And I hope that this was helpful for someone going through it, just to see that there is much brighter days on the other side of cancer. And it's very cloudy now, but when I tell you that the days get so much brighter afterwards, it's almost as though you're reborn without ever having to die. And that is so worth the fight. It's worth the journey. So just remember to fight, be fabulous through your fight. And that's what fighting and fabulous is all about, is truly being able to hold things down, keep your chin up, and remember that you've got this. At the end of the day, if no one else believes you, so Shanee Wilson knows for a fact, without having met you, without knowing anything about your journey, I wholeheartedly believe that you've got this.
Thank you, Shanee. It was really inspiring. So yeah, and you are having some kind of energy, and I'm sure that this will be attracting a lot of people. And yeah, it really motivates survivors and caregivers out there as well. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And then just out of curiosity, from here, what do we do from here?
Yeah, so Shanee, can you please talk a little bit about Fighting Fabulous?
Yes. So Fighting and Fabulous is my company that was birthed back during my cancer journey. It is truly a baby. It is my passion. It is the one thing in my life that I didn't realize I was missing all along. But what it is it's an organization that's designed for my fellow cancer fighters, my cancer thrivers, and my cancer supporters to really just help cancer patients throughout the journey. During my personal journey, as I mentioned, people don't really know what to get you, what to do for you. They don't have the right words for you. They say things, and it may not necessarily be the best things. Like, I remember one time someone said to me, "Hey, are you going to get up and put some makeup on today?" Like, what do you mean by saying that? Like, I think you're trying to be helpful, but not necessarily being helpful. So Fighting and Fabulous is our company that has actually created journey boxes for our fighters that are in different phases of their journey. So when people are first diagnosed with a particular cancer, then we have like our starter journey kit, so to say, which is a fight for the journey. And then when people really are going through the process, which is something like me, where I went through cancer for quite some time, and you're just kind of over it. Like, the doctors won't let you go anywhere. You can't travel. You can't escape. You can't get away. You have to go back to the hospital, have to go seek another treatment. I just wanted to mentally get away. So another one of our boxes is a vacation in the journey. And that's for that person that wants to mentally get away, but can't necessarily physically get away. So you just need some inspirational words, some encouragement, and some items to help you feel like you're just getting away to some capacity. And then there's our other box, which is actually one of my personal favorites. And it's for the person that is on the cusp of giving up. I feel like it's my favorite because I wanted to give up quite often during the journey. And I just needed some powerful words. I needed a powerful prayer. I needed some merchandise that just spoke to how I felt in that particular moment of wanting to give up. And this one is called Fire for the Journey, because this box literally gives all of my fighters who are just like, I'm ready to throw the towel in. I'm over it. I'm done. I don't know what else to do. I've exhausted all of my mental capacity, my physical energy. I am over this thing they call cancer. No, this is exactly what our Fire for the Journey box is. So ideally, when I originally created this company, I was thinking, well, hey, cancer patients can come and they can get the resources that they need right here. They can get the merchandise they need. They can wear things and feel good about themselves, or as good as possible, have someone that's there for them. And then I realized it's also really helpful for supporters, for those people that say, what do I get you? What am I supposed to say to you? What gesture am I supposed to give you that makes you feel like you are in fact supported, other than me simply just being there? So that's exactly what Fighting in Fabulous is. It's a beacon for hope for all of my cancer patients. I do various blogs on our particular website, fightinginfabulous.com, where you can read about different phases in the journey. You can read about the deaths that I've experienced, the most hurtful things nurses have talked to me about, how I had no idea that I was personally pregnant after cancer, how I dealt with the post-cancer repercussions that I really was oblivious to. So it's not only at a deeper personal level of me, in the hopes of relating with my cancer community, but it's also those tangible objects, those tangible items to say, hey, I'm fighting, I'm fabulous, and yes, hear me roar. I feel like when I went through my cancer journey, I was very, for lack of better terms, I started out very ashamed. I didn't want people to know because I felt like I was still processing things. I was embarrassed for a moment. When I lost my hair, I didn't recognize myself, lost all of my facial features. It's like, it's kind of a lot that's happening here. It's kind of a lot that was happening there for me. So I didn't want to share my journey with people, but Fighting in Fabulous is truly that place that says, hey, we're fighting and we're fighting this together. So don't be ashamed. Don't keep this news and information to yourself. You better come out here, you fight this cancer, you do it with your support system, and let people hear you roar. So Fighting in Fabulous is certainly my baby, and something that I hope that helps all of my fellow fighters, survivors, to just get through another day. Because at the end of the day, that's all we can do, is just take things one day at a time.
Thank you so much. That is indeed a really good initiative.
Thank you.
No problem. So thank you so much once again, Shanee. Yeah, I'm really glad that you are here with us. And I'm pretty sure that this will inspire. Yeah, this will inspire.
And I'll send you all of those details today for sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Shanee.